let's welcome Who's That Meta Deck? Good day, Tamers. Welcome back to an episode of that Who's That Meta Deck with me, Agito Swiftly. So we're going to go through this weird blue OTK deck that's kind of an OTK, not the same sense that Chaosmon's an OTK. So we're not really an OTK. We're kind of more of a scare your opponent into submission kind of OTK deck. So this is kind of your line. You get your Tsunamon to Gabmon. Gabmon then gets to your Grumon. With your Grumon, you get to have a very cheap cost. But if you have Grumon or I'm knowing your name, you get to have the plus 1000. The where Grumon here is if your opponent has no Digivolution cards, this Digimon gets security stats plus 1. There is a different version of this card that's kind of the same thing, but we'll go over that later. Then we can have the where Grumon Saturdays mode, which is well you have Grumon or I'm knowing your name again, you get 1000 DP. Also though, this Digimon gets jamming, so it's pretty cool. Metal Grumon's on the structure deck, it gives you essentially shoot and suspend and then attack again, so you get 2 swings per attack phase, which is pretty good. And then you have the Omnimon with Blitz, again, which is the whole, I'll Digifall, because of Digifall I get to unsuspend, but because I'm unsuspended I now get to have Blitz, and Blitz lets me now attack, so it's pretty cool. And then we have these babies that are razor sharp, so we get 4 Pseudomons from BT5, and then the one from the structure deck. It doesn't have to be the one from the structure deck, this is kind of more of a filler just for the theme, but essentially you are looking for something that has a very similar effect here. Most of the blue rookies do want you to have an opponent with nothing on there as a Digivolution source, so we can go over those later on. What a lovely bunch of Gabumons. So we are playing all 4 Gabumons that we can currently play as of now. I think this is all the Gabumons we can play. You don't have to play these like this, I'm just doing it more kind of, again, it's a theme, but I do like these and I think they are pretty cool. So we have the Structure Gabumon, which is the Trash Delusion card at the bottom of your opponent's Digimon with level 5 or less. It's pretty good early game if you're trying to get your opponent to either miss out on Digibursting or just to reduce some of the heritage effects your opponent can have. We have Gabumon with the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 Digimon card with Gurumon in its name and 1 Digimon card with Omnimon in its name. Amongst them to your hand. Place remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Again, pretty good searches are always really good, and this is a really good search for essentially any deck that wants to play these 2 cards. Then we have the On Play Trigger Draw 1. And then we have the Unplay Trust the Button Delusion card of one of your opponent's Digimon. It's a 4 cost, it's very expensive. I wouldn't really play this personally. This is just here as a reference, but you do get to do nice little plays later on. We'll go over those later. So, the Wolfpack and their fishes. So, we have the new Gurumon, which is the BT5 Gurumon. This is the, if you Digital from a Gabumon, you get to gain 1 memory, so it's going to cost you 1. And again, we'll have another recursion later on. We have the 1 cost of blockers. A lot of people are obviously getting really annoyed about these because they're not really doing anything. They're just saving you from a turn. I think people need to stop thinking these are like the be-all end-all of blockers, but they are here just to give you another turn or stop you from dying or anything that kind of odd. And then the Grumon Trust the Delusion card at the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. It's pretty good. This obviously works at any level. It's going to be very useful, especially if you get the recursion effect from Gabumon. So if you do attack into something and your opponent has level 5, you'll trash away both the baby and the rookie as far as I'm aware, but this is it for now. You can do other things, we'll go over them in the player's choice. Blue is quite lucky. Blue does have a lot of choices for like different things they can do, but this is what we're going to go here for the theme. Then the genes make the man, well, the wolf man. So we have 4 of these Wergurumons with the security attack if your opponent has Digimon with no Digivolution sources. It's pretty easy to do if your opponent is, say, playing green, they have Nidhogg and they Digiburst things away, or they're playing, say, like a Capitarian one of the Digiburst all things away. There are ways to get around this, so to say, but this is kind of the easiest one. And then the Sagittarius mode up here is essentially just for, hey, it's going to cost you 1 to get jamming. That's pretty good. Or it's just another way to get an extra source of your Digivolutions onto your Metal Gurumon. Again, it will give you an extra 1000 damage, which I think is pretty good. There's no real reason for this otherwise. The jamming is obviously a nice little touch during, like, say, mid-game when you're just trying to get the first 1 or 2 of your opponent's security down. But with security attack plus 1, jamming for security attack plus 1. Pretty cool. Then we got all the way over to the old dog knows lots of tricks. And this is just your big stick. This is your guy that's going to go walking around. It's going to be on a 14k body. Got security attack plus 1, it's going to attack twice, so it's attacking for 4 hits. It's pretty good. Now, there are things that do have 14k, there are things that have 15k, and I think that's it for now, he says, thinking if there's something out there with 16k just yet, but I think there is, not yet. It's going to be a pretty good, you're going to have a good chance of going through a lot of security before you get beat down. And if you do somehow survive those 4 hits, you can then go into your next choice, which is, oh, hello there. I didn't see you there. Oh no, don't mind me. I'm just going to take this game. And that is Omnimon. And that is just going to take the last security. You're a big body. And if the opponent's effect would delete this Digimon or return it to the owner's hand or deck, you can prevent that from leaving play by trashing a level 6 Digimon card in this Digimon's Digivolution sources. So even then, that Metal Garurumon comes into play. It's a level 6. Your opponent's just going to look at it and be like, yeah, I'm just going to delete it, or I'm just going to like bounce it back to hand. And you're like, no, you don't. You don't get to do that. So pretty good. It's only a 4 cost as well compared to the last Omnimon, which was a 6 cost. Also, even though this is a 14k body with the inherited effects underneath it, you are getting the whole 17k body beat stick. And then let's finish this once and for all. So 2 mats and 4 Nokia. Now the reason why this is, it's because on place it's free cost. You can play an Agumon and a Gabumon from your hand for free. Now remember, if we go back, there was the Gabumon earlier that we showed you, that was the 4 play cost, so you're essentially saving a cost there. Again, wouldn't necessarily play the 4 cost one. The idea of it is pretty good, and it might be better in another deck, but this one, there's some synergy at least. And then main, when digivolving one of your when digivolving one of your Digimon into a Digimon card from your hand with Garurumon, Omnimon, or Greymon, other than the fake ones in its name, you may suspend this tamer to reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 1, which is pretty damn good. Now Matt's just here because he's the memory tamer. You're going to get your free at the start of each turn anyway, and then when you play a blue Digimon, you can suspend this tamer to trash the bottom Digivolution card of one of your opponent's Digimon. Again, pretty good, especially if you've got cheap cost blues. I don't know if this will have like synergy with Nokia. I would imagine it does. So Nokia obviously on play lets you play another card. If this is on the field and then you play a Gabumon, it's obviously you're playing a blue Digimon, and then that will trigger the other one. So if you are playing the 4 cost one, you're essentially triggering 2 Digivolution sources from 1 card, or multiple cards if you want to. So it's pretty good. It's got some nice synergy in this deck. But let's go to player's choice, because this is kind of where this deck is really weird. So for babies, you have Upamon. Now Upamon is if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards, you can trigger draw 1. It's pretty damn good. You have the Bukamon, which is the trash the bottom Digivolution card of one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon when attacking. Again, this is good for super early game, or if blue gets some like Digivolve maybe later in the game. Wouldn't surprise me. Things do like to cross evolve during card games, so pretty good. Sukamon's also a good option during this stuff. Obviously a 2 cost rookie would be really good to make it easier for you to get things out, and not having to pay heaven and earth to get things out, or try and still memory choke your opponent. But your opponent can't reduce Digivolution cost is pretty damn good in Sukamon. Grillamon is 1 cost beat stick, mostly seen in Rookie Rush decks kind of at the moment, which is obviously, we don't talk about Rookie Rush decks, but Grillamon is a super cheap champion. 1 costs are really good. Personally, this is probably what I'd play in this deck just so you have a cheap cost, but you do have that Garurumon that technically becomes a free Digivolution if you have the Nokia in play already. So we have the 2 Were Garurumons. Again, I don't think the BT1 Garurumon is worth ever looking at. It's too expensive in terms of what it does. When attacking, you gain free memory, but you lose free memory. So yeah, if you essentially gain your free memory, spend your memory, and then go to your opponent's turn, they're just going to get so much advantage. It's just ridiculous. Now the other one is the one I was talking about earlier, which is the also gives you security. If you have a way of constantly having 8 or more cards in your hand, then this is probably going to be much better than the other one, which is getting a Digivolution card on the which is probably, oh god, how to do this. And this is the other Garurumon we're talking about, and this is the one where if you can think you can have 8 or more cards in your hand constantly, that's obviously great, and it just boosts you down, rather than the other Garurumon that gives you the same similar effect, but you have to have an opponent's Digimon on the field without a Digivolution source. Now, if you think one is easier than the other, then it's probably best to choose that version to go with. But if you think you can have a lot more draw power and that you're always going to have a handful of cards, then this is probably going to be the one for you. If you're more concerned about getting Digivolution sources down on your opponent's side, then the other one is for you. A lot of people forget, you know, Digiburst is a thing now. People do want to burn away their Digivolution sources. Having the no Digivolutions in play kind of thing does make it a lot easier than people think nowadays. Then we go on to our Metal Garurumon. This is the one from BT5. This is the rare. And this is the when Digivolving, if a Digimon card with Garurumon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, return one of your opponent's Digimon with a on deletion effect to the bottom of the owner's deck. Trash all the Digivolution cards of that Digimon. So this is for something like, I believe, brain's going dead, defeat. So what defeat's really good. I think that's when it's deleted, it can take something with it to hell and back. or that could be also just Zwert anyway. But yeah, there's not many things that have this on deletion effect, and this is probably the only time now when we get a bigger card pool that I actually start thinking a side deck would be really good. Because if you go into a tournament and you're like, okay, I don't know what we're playing a lot of here, and then you just happen to turn up and one of your opponents is playing black, one of your opponents is playing purple, and you're like, you know what, I'd really like to get this Metal Garurumon into my deck, just so that way I have the chance of like essentially removing their on deletion effects. I know what you guys are thinking, like, you don't need side decks, and you're right, we don't really need side decks right now, but probably in the future when the card pool does get bigger, side deck for tech choices would be pretty good, and players' choices like this is actually where you'd want to find it. So that's my rambly rambles about the Metal Garurumon, and also just have an inherited effect when you obviously Omnimon. That is when attacking, once per turn, gain 1 memory. Memory gain is pretty good, I like memory gain. Then we're going to move on to the Tai and the Mat Ishida. So this is start of your turn, if your opponent has level 6 or high Digimon, gain 2 memory. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty good. And then your turn, all your Digimon with Omnimon in their name gain security attack +1. Again, I like security attack +1. Omnimon likes security attack +1. Your opponent's not a fan of that, but hey, we're not here to play with your opponent, we're here to win games. We've maxed rarity cards if we can. But no, this is pretty good, and it will help out during, if you are trying to whittle something down, or you couldn't get the security attack to work because you've gone a different choice. Maybe you picked this Garurumon because you want to have the Sagittarius effect, or you've gone for a different line of ultimates. Maybe you've gone for like Monzimon because you think, you know what, I want cheap is better, and that's what you've gone with, and that's fine. And then you have the other Omnimon, the other blue Omnimon, and this is the when Digivolving, choose one of your opponent's Digimon, and every Digimon has the same name, will be removed, which is pretty good. And then when attacking, you can unsuspend this by removing one of the Digimon level 6s underneath this. That's pretty good. So this card is going to be very good for a while. I think a lot of people forget how good this Omnimon is, but the Digivolving effects are obviously going to get changed soon when we get things like Armageddon in the meta more often. But the player choices, there are other choices in this as well. You could look at things like Hammer Sparks if you want more memory gain. You could look at having the Mega Fusion in here. You are playing White Tamers. You do maybe just want to get into Omnimon really quick. You don't want to cost any memory. You go and you do your damage, and then you come back out and you've got X memory left over. And you maybe be able to finish off the game, or you put yourself in a better position. Obviously, your opponent's now in a very weak position. Especially if this is very early game as well. So there are other choices around there. For options for removing things, I don't know if there's anything amazing at the moment. I think you could use something like the Absolute Power. That's a pretty good one, but I'm not massively too sure. I always feel like blue's not the greatest when it comes to option cards, but that will always be down. In all fairness, if you're going to run Omnimons, you could also look at using something like All Delete. It's obviously the costume Omnimon, but the board gets wiped. I don't recommend that card, but hey, if you've somehow got 10 memory and you just want to the field, you might as well. But that is the kind of OTK we do blue things deck. Thanks for being here, guys. If you've been enjoying the content, please subscribe, like, comment. I love talking to you guys. I love interacting with you guys. It's been fantastic. You guys have been doing an amazing job the last few days. The views have been insane. We've got like 100 hours of view time in the last like 3 days. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for being here. And again, I'm going to get you swiftly. Peace out. Goodbye. You guys take care of yourselves. Tamers, peace out.